Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm going to be making a card for the Blue Knight rubber stamp design team using the Wetlands rubber stamp and using Spectrum Noir markers, sparkle pens, which are very much like a water brush but have the highly pigmented mica inside of them. And this is sort of a prototype of what I'm going for, sort of a lush looking wetlands in the summertime, and I'm going to be using a lot of these markers in the process. So let's get started. I'm using some Strathmore mixed media like watercolor paper because this is going to take a lot of water because of the medium that I'm using. What I'm doing is aligning my stamp in my Tim Holtz stamp positioner in the corner, and I'm using Brutus Monroe Raven Detail ink to stamp the image. This is a great ink to use with watercolors. It's a nice size ink pad as well, fits in your hand pretty easily. Later on I'll be using Versa Fine Clair Nocturne to stamp the sentiment in some of the images that I'm using. So that stamped pretty good. I just want to stamp it a second time, and then we'll go ahead and get started with our watercoloring. After we're done stamping our image, we take it out. I put it on a board. That way, if there's excess water, it has some place to go and be absorbed. And I'm going to take a mask, that's what it's called, a mask, a circle mask, and put it right above the mountains, right in the valley there. I really would have preferred to have it as a setting sun, but I stamped before masking, so this is okay. It actually looks very nice in the end to have the sun in the sky. It reminds me of a summertime scene. I'm using Spectrum Noir Aquamarine to color in the pond lake area, and then also a basically watercolor brush to blend it. That's just the way that I learned how to do this, and I don't know if it's the actually proper technique, but it works for me. I'm going to heat set this so that I can put a little bit more down if I need to. But it's a real pretty color and looks great as a lake wetland area. After I'm done masking the sun and painting the water, I go ahead and start with the grasslands. And this is a real vibrant green color, and there's a lot of grass, obviously, to cover on this panel. So I'm going to speed through this pretty quickly. I have to hit it with the heat tool periodically just to dry it up a little bit so that I can continue without the paper pilling. On the back of the stamp, there's some more water and a tree line with some pines, very tall trees. And I'm just going to go ahead and color in the tree line. And so far I'm liking this. I like the vibrant colors. I definitely use them whenever I can. Like I said, there's a lot of greenery in this stamp set, so I'm just finishing up the trees on both sides of the panel. I've got all my green painted in now and it's nice and lush. Now I'm going to use some white gouache and some black Brutus Monroe aqua pigment. It's actually called Black Friday, and I don't know if that's a matte aqua pigment, but when I go to paint these mountains in, it's almost as if they're being covered and you can't see the ink stamping underneath. So what I did was I backed off on the aqua pigment part of this little area that I am mixing paints, and I just focused on the gray because these are mountains in the background. And it takes me a while to get these just because there's a lot of other things near them. So you've got trees growing up right in front of them. You've got just the whole scene in front of it. I did find the larger trees to be very thin at the top, so I had to just be really careful not to overpower them with green Spectra Noir. And then when I'm done with my mountains, I can start on my sky. So for my sky, I wanted to have sort of like a purple color, almost like a blue violet, but my violet was way too purple, and my blue was definitely 100% blue. So I took a little bit of the purple Spectrum Noir ink and a little bit of the blue, and then I was able to make it sort of like a softer color blue, which I think really looks fine considering how dark and rich and vibrant all of the other sections of the card are colored in. Hopefully I won't go overboard and make the sky even way darker than the water. That wasn't my intention. I wanted the sky to have like a purplish color to it, a little bit different than the water color, but we'll see in the end how it comes out. Okay, so to not make this video to be ultra long, I'm going to jump forward to the part where I stamp the sentiments. I have mini greetings one that has happy birthday, and I'm going to use that sentiment as well as this little trio of birds from Birds. And then I have a little duck from the new release, The Footbridge, the little ducks. I'm going to put them in the water. So to help me align everything, I'm grabbing for a piece of acetate. This will help me because when you have a watercolor panel, it gets a little warped, and I want to make sure everything's straight. And actually, I bring in some extra magnets to hold down the watercolor panel, just to help it so it doesn't, impact my stamping and my ability to get a nice straight line. I'm using VersaFine Clair. I have my Blue Night rubber stamp magnet that is a holder so that I don't lose my grip on my black ink. I use VersaFine Clair for my sentiments when I am um, doing something like this because your watercolor panel and your image has so much pigment on it. You need a really dark ink to be able to stamp that sentiment so you can actually see it. And I'm just practicing here. I'm trying to get the text to line up straight. I keep looking at it and thinking that it's going downhill a little bit or going uphill a little bit. So either way, sometimes you have to play around a little bit when you're working with red rubber stamps. But boy, once you have that lined up and you stamp it, it's just wonderful. The detail is great, um, especially with Blue Night rubber stamp. When you see, like for example, how I colored in that scene, I was just following the artist's drawing and I was just following the lines that the artist used to create the stamp. I could never draw something like that myself, but I certainly feel like I am doing art, and I am whenever I am working with these beautiful red rubber stamps because of the high quality images and how much attention to detail is paid to the images. So in my description box below, I will have a link back to all the products that I used and to the Blue Night rubber stamp shop. I will have a link to the Blue Night Rubber Stamp Facebook page, and I would encourage you to join that Facebook page because right now there's a challenge going on, and you'll often see that happening. Just occasionally something like that will pop up. Sometimes there's a challenge with the prize, and also I'm going to have a link to the Blue Night Rubber Stamp YouTube channel, which is relatively new, but is great, wonderful content. Just the other day, Lynn, the owner of Blue Night Rubber Stamp, did a tutorial on how to do a mirror image of a reflection of an animal standing over water. I mean, it was fantastic. And it's a technique that I haven't been able to figure out how to do. So I'm so excited that she did that because I'm going to follow along with her directions and I'm really excited. I think it's going to look great. It's always so nice to learn something new and to be able to, take that and make it something that you can practice with all your different stamps and sets that you're working on. Okay, so now we have our ducks, and as with the happy birthday, the ducks are going to be stamped in VersaFine Clear Nocturne ink. I thought this would make a nice birthday for a masculine birthday. That's just a picture of the footbridge stamp set where I found those little ducklings. This is from Birds One, and it's just a little trio of birds. It's just perfect. And I'm going to stamp that over by the sun. By the way, that is going to be the sun, even though it's white right now. And I was like almost tempted to make it the moon, but it was the sun and my blog post. It was the sun and the project that I submitted to the design team. So I wanted to keep it consistent and continue with the sun. Okay, so then I'm just going to, now that I've lined it up, I'm just going to go ahead and stamp those little birds. Okay, I will be trimming this down, by the way. All right, so I have some Brutus Monroe aqua pigment, and the colors that I selected are yellow and yellow orange. And I go with the orange yellow for my sun. I just want something really bright. Sometimes the sun can be like so like red hot. And I'm just using a regular paintbrush. I put a little bit of water down first before I did this. And then I'm just going to heat set it and then trim it down. I had everything done. I used double-sided tape to mount the panel to a piece of black cardstock, card base. I signed my name, Tracy 2020, on the back in white Jelly Roll pen. And I'm really, really excited about how this card turned out. I love it. I don't know what happened to my lighting there, sorry. And you can't see it in the photos, but there's so much sparkle. I know the wetlands don't have sparkle like that, but it's okay. When you're making a card, you have the poetic license to make the wetlands sparkle if you want to, right? I also made this card another way using snow, sort of like a winter scene. You can find that technique and more information on how I made that over on my blog, thehopefulcrafter.com. So please check it out and learn more about this very versatile stamp set. Thanks so much for watching, and if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Definitely comment below. Let me know what you think about the watercolor card, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks, everybody. Have a hopeful day. Bye bye.